A very good evening, everyone. So today we Group 1 P2 would like to present our programming codes of our program. So now I would like to pass my floor to Jack to explain his part of the codes.
All right. Um, I am Jecozale Jeoffrey Eko with ID 1900107, and I will firstly present the choose engine function. For this function, it serves to uh, ask and prompt the user for the requirements of the engines, and then it will, based on that input, it will recommend the most suitable engine that is also the cheapest. Now, firstly, in the coding, all these include include headers like IOStream, string, are all used for the functions. Like for example, all these are familiar, except for like algorithm. Algorithm is used later on to find the cheapest engine, and C limits and limits is to uh, what call the limits, numerical limits from C++. Right. So firstly, I assign void choose engine with arguments all the arrays that later will be covered in the main. So I will call out the arguments or like array size, quantity, cost, index, string, the type, the name, size, power, torque, and as well as the vectors and the respective vectors. Now, firstly, we declare the minimum size, minimum power, and minimum torque, and then we execute the loop. For this one, this is to prompt the user for the minimum size in CC, and I use this method to execute the loop if the input fails. So if the input, like this is C in minimum size, so if the input is not integer, for example, wrong data type, it will ask the question again and ask the user to input again, so that the input will not cause any errors. So this is for input validation, right? So this is the same as well for minimum power and minimum torque. So the user is required to enter the size, power, and torque, the minimum size, power, and torque, and then it will be used to find the recommended engine. Now this loop for int I equals 0, I less than array size, and I++, if minimum size is less than size I, so if the minimum size is the input from the user, so it's less than for example, the first element of from the array of the size, then we insert pushback. We insert the element, the engine, into the vector. This is because since the engine meets the requirement, it will be put into the vector. So this means that all the engines that meet the minimum size requirement will be put inside the vector. And then next, hold on, it's lagging. And then next, if minimum power is more than the power, like from the vector that was already inserted just now, then we erase the engines. This means that, for example, there's an engine that meets the minimum size requirement, but it doesn't meet the minimum power requirement. So if the minimum power requirement does not meet, it will erase the engines in the vector previously. So this is for that. And then I minus to restart the loop, the iteration, so that it will cover all elements, all engines. And then for the third one, for the torque size, it's the same thing. If the minimum torque, if the engines does not meet the minimum torque requirement, we also erase it from the vector. So Yes, and also I minus minus. It's the same case as just now. So that's that. So at the end, we will end up with the vector with only suitable engines that meets all three requirements. Now, for this one, for this loop, for I is less than size, and then if cheapest is more than V price, this is to find the cheapest between all the available engines inside the vector. I mean the suitable engines. So for example, if there's only 3 engines suitable, so among the 3, they will find the cheapest. And then from the cheapest, I use auto it to assign the data from, and then use the algorithm to find the cheapest in the vector. To find the cheapest, and then use assign index to calculate the index, to find the index of the vector that is the cheapest. So for example, if the cheapest is engines V10, for example, and then this one will find the cheapest, and then this one will calculate the index to find. So for example, it's index number 1, so it is 1 in the element of the vector. So this is to calculate the index, and since the index already is found, this is already the recommended element, then we will display the recommended engine here. And then this is in table formatting, and then v size index, v type index, and all that. But the user has a choice to, and then the user will be prompted a question, a choice to whether choose the recommended engine or choose other suitable engines. So if the user press 1, they will choose the suitable engine, the recommended engine previously, and then hold on, let me scroll down here. If the user choose 1, it will choose the previous engine, and then it will calculate the cost, which is the V price index, and then it will ask for the quantity, and then the cost will be multiplied by the quantity, the price, and that will be the final cost for that set, for that engine only. But if the user choose 2, hold on, if the user choose 2, the program will display all other available engines in the vector. So meaning if there's only 3 engines available, it will display all 3 of the engines, and then the user has a choice to choose which of the 3 engines they want. So here they will enter based on the index, and then this is also this loop, while loop, all while loop with scene.clear is all for for input validation. And if when they choose the valid index, it will ask for the quantity of the engine, and then after that the cost will be calculated by multiplying the price based on the chosen engine multiplied with the quantity. So that will be for this function. Thank you.
Thank you, Jecozale. My name is Chang and my ID is 19001547. I will be presenting on the build function header. So this is a function where it takes the argument, the safe name, safe type, safe size, safe power, safe torque, safe price, safe quantity, and safe selection total price. So if you remember, this is actually a vector from the main function that we use to store the selections of the user. So the first element will be the first selections of the user, and then the second element will be the second selections of the user. So if safe name is empty, which means that if one of these vector is empty, this means that user have not stored any information inside the vector. So it will display an error message. If there is something else in the vector, we will print what is in the vector. So to print that, we use this for loop. So for integer I equals to 0, I less than integer. In safe name dot size, this means that starts from element number 0, and then we eventually work up to element number 1, number 2, number 3, and then I++ is just to increase the element number. So it will display the first engine, first it will display the name of the engine in the element number 0. Then it will display the type, size, power, torque, price, quantity, and total price for selection for element number 0. So again, this I plus 1 will proceed to the next element, and it will display the first element of the vector, and this will just keep going until it reaches the last element. That's it for me. I will pass to Luthfil.
Evening. Thank you, Mr. Chah. My name is Luthfil Hasif, ID 19001527, and I will be explaining further regarding the delete function in our program. So similar to the view function, we will also be using the void feature where the vectors, the vector string as well from the main function, the save name, save type, save size, as well as save power, save torque, and save price will be stored in the vector. And basically with using the for loop, in order to delete the stored data in the vector, we'll be using the for loop where the integer is initially equal to 0 and I is obviously less than integer, and in order for the data to be deleted, the save name dot size equal to 0 is needed, and later on we will be using the I++ to increase the element. So in this specific function, we'll be using the pop underscore back, where for each element and the data being stored in the vector, we'll be using the pop back to erase all the stored data inside the database. And afterwards, if you look at the main function, after executing the after executing the delete function, later on the message will be displayed informing the customer or the user that the data have been deleted successfully, and basically the customer can proceed to the next selection. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Luthfil. So my name is Chen Khang with students ID 19001197, and today I will be presenting the calculate payment function. So for this calculate payment function, it aims to calculate the total payment and displays it, and also to give the user the choices of payments of the methods to pay the price. So in this calculate payment header function here, we use the void feature and this calculate payment function, and right here in the bracket there's the arguments from the main function, and then we first initialize the total pay, which initialize it as 0, and then this is the initialization of the either integer or the string. So this is the for loop. Okay, in this for loop, we started it integer I equals to 0, and then I is smaller than integer, and this is the size. Okay, size of the vector, since we are using vector. So this size is how many elements in the vector, so which is starting from 0, and then this I++ is to increase the iteration. So total pay equals to total pay plus save selection total price, and this is the bracket I. Okay, so it will just add on the payments until it receives the total pay, since the total pay is initialized at 0 at the first time. So after it ends the loop, it will print out the payment output with the total payment. Okay, this is your total payment is, and this is the total pay here. So after it has been displayed, so we can the user can select the method of payment to proceed the transaction. So the user is given 3 choices. The first choice will be debit or credit card, the second choice will be online banking, and the third choice will be touch and go e-wallet. So we use this while loop. Okay, so it's to enter the payment method index first, and if the user enters something other index or other things other than 1 2 3 cases, for example 4 5 6 or 0 like this, it will display there's not a valid index, and then it will clear. All right. And then moving next will be the choices. Okay, since the first choice will be debit, second choice will be online banking, third choice will be touch and go e-wallet. So if the user chooses the first choice by entering 1, it will print out the card number where the user has to enter his own card number. Next will be the CVV number, and the last one will be his expiry number at the back of his debit or credit card. So else if choice equals to 2, okay, if the user enters 2, it will print out select your bank. Then there will be the user will be given a lot of choices here, 1 up to 17. Okay, this is the choices of banks available in Malaysia. So after he has chosen his desired bank, it will print out the enter bank index where the user has to enter. So for example, if the user enters 1, means that he chooses Maybank, so he needs to enter 1, and then after that he has to enter his bank account number. Next will be the transaction amount. The transaction amount is based on the total payment here. Alright, total pay. He has to enter the exact amount, and then he has to enter the banking details. Banking details can be any, and then he can choose transfer method. So either is normal IBG transfer or instant transfer. And then next he has to enter the transfer index by entering 1 or 2, and then lastly he has to enter the TAC by the SMS one. Okay, it will be requested from the SMS. So else if choice equals to 3, means the user enters 3, okay, then it will print out please transfer to this phone number. This phone number is from the company's phone number, and it also prompts the user to enter. It also shows the user, displays to the user, please enter payment details as XYZ Engineering Sdn Berhad is the name of the company. And then the user has to enter the company's phone number as shown right here, as well as the payment details as shown right here. This XYZ Engineering Sdn Berhad. And lastly, after he has keyed in everything, then it will print out the payment processing. And lastly, it will be thank you for purchasing. Have a nice day. So basically, the user can have choices by selecting his payment method, either choice 1, choice 2, or choice 3. And then if you choose either one, after he has entered the details, okay, given here, and straight away it will go to this display. So this is how the program ends. That's all from me. Thank you. So now I would like to pass my floor to Nigel to present his part.
Thank you, Chen Khang. My name is Nigel, ID 19001257, and I will be explaining on the file invoice header. And as for the headings, F-stream is to give the capability of both off-stream and if-stream, which means it can create file, write information to file, and read information from file. And as for C-time, it converts the given time epoch to a calendar local time and then to a character representation. And we use the void function to call arguments from the main file, which is vector string, save name, save quantity, save selection price, and total pay. And for the off-stream file, we would have to open invoice.txt, and this function we will be able to amend the file instead of overwriting the file in order to save the file. Once it runs for the second time or the third time, all the data will be saved into the same text file. And we go into here, if case, if file is open, you go into this loop. First, we have to initialize in int n to as save name dot size to know the size of the vector. And for this, t underscore t now time 0, character date time c time bracket and now. Next, we will timestamp the date and time into the invoice file. Next, we put the headings in the invoice file for the engine name, quantity, and price. Next, we go into a for loop for int I equals to 0, I less than n, which is less than the vector size, and I plus plus. And the file will run and save the vector in save name I, save quantity I, and save selection total price. And lastly, it will save the total payment, the total pay of the total booking details of the customer. Else, if the file is not open, it will tell in the file that file is not open, and that's it. And next, I will pass back to Jecozale. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nigel. Now I will be explaining the main file, the main function. Here we include all the needed headers, and then all the functions such as choose engine, view function, delete function, calculate payment, as well as file invoice. Now, in the main function, firstly we declare the variables as shown, and then we declare the constant arrays of all available engine catalog. So this array here will be constant since the engine catalog is constant. It will not change throughout the program. So for example here, for index 1 is vtype, it will be inserted corresponding to the index number with type, name, size, power, and torque. So for vtype, for the first index, index 0, it will be corresponding to V6, EA837, 2995 size, power of 340, as well as torque 440, and so on. It will be corresponding to that. So that is for the array. Now here we will declare the vectors to be used for engine selection that will be called in the argument for the choose engine function. So here vtype, vname, vsize, vpower, vtorque, vprice. And then the next set of vectors is for the final selection. As you may have noticed, it's the save name, save type, save size, save power, save torque, save price, save quantity, save selection total price. All of these are used to save the vector from the temporary vector so that it will be used for other functions like delete function, file, invoice, and calculate payment. So here the loop, firstly, as declared initially, the test is 1. So that means that the function choose engine will always be called at least once because test is equals to 1. So while test equals to 1, it will call the choose engine function with all the arguments, and then the choose engine function will do its work and then find the recommended engine, and then it will see out, it will display all the current selection. And then next, and then the vector will be stored in the temporary vector from the choose engine will be saved into the save name, save type, all these save vectors to be used for other functions so that they can call. And then here we clear the choosing engine vector for another selection. This means that all the temporary vector, all the previous engines that inside the temporary vector will be cleared. This is because so that when the user wants to add another selection, the vector will start anew so that it can still recommend based on the requirement input. Now, this is for input validation. Then the user will have a choice, will be prompted to choose between 0, 1, 2, or 3. For 0, it is to view the selection. For 1, it is to add another selection. 1, which is the choose engine function. 2, to delete all the selection, as well. Number 3, to exit payment. If the user enter any of the other than any of these choices, it will ask to, it will prompt that's not a valid choice, and then ask to re-enter the choice. Now this while loop will keep on looping as long as the test is equals to 0 or 2. So if the test equals to 0, the view function will be called so that the user can view the function. And if the test is equals to 2, the delete function will be called. So all the previous selection will be deleted. And then it will ask again the selection to whether it still want to view, add, delete, or exit. And then if the user still want to view, it will run this loop again. Or if the user still want to delete, it will run this loop again until the user wants to add, press 1, entered 1 to add another selection, or 3 to exit to payment. Now, when the user enter 3, it will exit to payment, and then it will firstly call the view function to show that all the selection, and then finally the call payment function to calculate the total cost based on the engine selections, and then the proceed to payment. Now, since this is a loop, choose engine loop means the user can choose a multiple engines. So, for example, 3 engines. So, because of that, for each engine total cost, the calculate payment will calculate for all 3 engines with its quantity. And then lastly, hold on, let me scroll down. Lastly, after all of that is done, the program will call, the main function will call the file invoice function. This is to save the invoice into the invoice.txt file. And then what will be saved is save name, the name of the engine, the quantity of the engine, the price of the engine, as well as the total payment. And this is called from the calculation payment function. And that is all. And then the program will end, return 0 to end. Thank you.
Alright, so thank you so much, Jack, for the explanation of the codes. So now I would like to do a demo by running our program, and let's see how it works. Alright, so it prompts the user to enter the minimum size in CC. Let's say I'll enter 8999. Alright, because the size of engine is only available up to 5900 cc, so it displays a non-valid input. So I have to enter the minimum size of engine again. So let's say less than 5900, I enter 5800, and it prompts the user to enter minimum power in horsepower. Let's say 450. Okay, the torque 340, and then it displays the most recommended engine with based on the lowest price as shown here. And then it says please enter 1 to confirm this engine selection, or enter 2 to check other suitable engines. So maybe I want to check other suitable engines available, so I've entered 2. And yeah, it displays only other suitable engines, this choice here, so I'll just enter 0 and enter the quantity of engines to manufacture. So let's say I enter 5 engines, and then it will display the quantity of engine. Okay, and also the current total cost for this engine is this amount. So I have choices here: 0 to view, 1 to add, 2 to delete, 3 to exit to payment. So I want to add another selection, so I just press 1, and then I'll enter the minimum size for another engine. So let's say the minimum power in horsepower, let's say 52125, torque 230, Yeah, and then it shows the most recommended engine based on the lowest price. So maybe I want to check other suitable engines again. I'll press 2, and then it gives out the other suitable engines with higher prices ones. So after the user analyze it, maybe the user will choose 3. Okay, and then enter the number of engines, 5. And yes, it's still the same. It shows the quantity of engine is 5 and the current total cost for this engine is this amount. So let's say if the user made up his mind and he doesn't want to purchase these engines, so he wants to delete off all the things that he has chosen previously. So since press 2 to delete all the selection, so he just press 2. And yes, it displays all of the previous selection has been successfully deleted. So it gives out the choices again to ask the user whether to continue or end to end the program. So since the user made up his mind, he wants to choose other engines, so he will just add another selection, press 1. And then also the same thing, he has to re-enter the minimum size in CC. Let's say 4500. The horsepower 500. Torque 300. Alright, so this is the recommended engine with the lowest price. So let's say press 1 to confirm this engine selection. So the user has decided to buy this engine, so he wants to confirm with this engine, so it presses 1. And then the quantity to manufacture is 5, let's say. And then since the user wants to view the selection, he has already made up his mind by buying this engine with the total cost with this amount. So he wants to view the selection, so he has to enter 0, the index 0. So it shows the engine selection. Okay, so next he will once he has made up his mind by choosing these engines, then he will just exit to payment by entering index 3. So this is a total payment that the user has to pay, which is 230,235. 230,235. So he can select the method of payment to proceed. Either these are the choices. So let's say the user wants to use debit card or credit card. So he presses 1 and enter the card number. Let's say any card number. Okay, then the CVV, which is at the back of the card. Let's say there are 3 numbers behind. The expiry date. Okay, let's say. Okay. And yeah, he has already made the payment. So payment processing and displays thank you for purchasing and have a nice day. The statement from the company. So this one, after the user has entered, then of course he has the invoice. Okay, so the invoice will be saved in the invoice text and it can be shown right here. Yeah, so in this invoice text, okay, it displays the day, okay, the date, okay, as well as the time, okay, when does the user make payment, and then it shows all the details of his engine as well as his total payment. So since he has chosen these 2 engines with this quantity and with this price, so he has already paid the total payment of this amount, which is 230,235. Alright, so now I would like to run the program once again because previously one of our group mates, who is Nigel, he mentioned that in the file invoice header there, it includes the append function, okay, the function of append to save the previous record in this invoice text file. So now I would like to run the program once again to show how it works. So I'll run. Okay, so enter the minimum size, let's say 51500. Okay, minimum power 340. Minimum torque 400. Okay, so this is the recommended engine based on the lowest price. So let's say I want to check other suitable engines. Okay, so there's a list. So I choose the WR12 with 449 kilowatts. So I choose 4. And quantity, I say I want to buy 6. The user wants to buy 6. So it shows the quantity as well as the total cost. And the user wants to add another engine. Then he enters the amount again. Oh yeah, it's invalid input because it's only available up to 5,900 cc. Okay, so 4,000. Careless user. Alright, so he has to enter the minimum power of let's say 500. Okay, and minimum 450. Yeah, so this is the choice. So you press 1 to confirm this engine. And how many he wants to buy it, wants the company to manufacture. Let's say he wants 9. Okay, so after considering, he wants to view his selection to check whether it's right or wrong. So he can check, okay, everything is correct, everything is right, okay, according to his preference. And then he wants to do payment, he will just press 3 to exit the payment. So this is a payment output with the total payment 339,489, okay, Ringgit Malaysia. So he chooses online banking. Okay, this is the bank choices. Okay, let's say the user uses CIMB. Okay, then he enters his account number. Let's say any account number. Alright, so the transaction amount must be the exact amount 339,489. 339,489. Okay, so the banking details can be let's say engine. So you can choose the transfer method. Let's say he wants instant transfer. He just enter 2, and then he will request tag, okay, from his phone or his PC, and then he will get the SMS including his tag. So let's say 4534, and yeah, payment processing, and it shows thank you for purchasing, have a nice day from the company statement. So just now, the first time we have done the program, and it saves the invoice into the invoice text file. So now the user purchased another time, and he can see the previous record in his invoice text file. So let's see. Yes. So as you can see here, this is the second record of his second purchase. So as you can see, this is the date, time, and day, okay, of purchasing. And these are the engines that he has chosen just now, as well as the quantity, as well as the price for each, and then the total payment. So this is the second payment that he has done, and the second record. This is the first payment he has done, and the first record. So it will automatically save, okay, append and save into the invoice text file here. So this is how our program works for our engine, okay, engine selection and estimation, cost estimation design. So that's all for our presentation today and our demo. I hope everyone likes our presentation and demo, and have a nice day. Thank you.